Hello, this is Chris Moberg with Varazo, an interactive marketing agency located in Santa Clara, California. Today we're going to be talking about how to maximize return with paid search. First of all, I kind of want to talk about keyword risk and campaign risk and what the word risk really means. All keywords have some sort of risk associated with them. When you're involved in any sort of PPC, if your cost per conversion isn't 100%, there's some risk involved. Your target market doesn't naturally meet up with the market of a search query. Besides the irrelevant keywords, the trick to a successful PPC account is to separate the high risk from the low risk. Once you do that, you can set up different strategies for either or. Let's talk a little bit more about risk. What is a high risk keyword? High risk keyword generally has low quality score, sometimes very high impressions or in an ultra competitive industry. Other times they're just short and vague. Low risk keywords, on the other hand, can be brand/product ID specific. Possibly they might be specific to your target market or call to action. An example is the word buy. Let's think of the word, if the word buy is involved in any one of your keywords and it's to something that you actually sell that's specific, then that's generally a low risk keyword. However, if it's like buy sweatpants or buy t-shirts, that's so vague because there's so many different competitors in that industry that most likely that's going to be a very high risk keyword. But let's check out some examples. Here you can see a low risk campaign. Check out that CPC and cost per conversion. Obviously, one of the things that you notice is that cost per conversion seems pretty unreal. Well, the reason is because this is a branded campaign. You can also see that the average position is fairly high, and also the CPC is very low, even though it's ranked and has a fairly higher bid price than the actual CPC. That's because the quality score is out of control. It's 10 on pretty much all keywords because it's a branded campaign. Now let's look at high risk. So high risk, you can see the impression level went up dramatically. However, the click count doesn't look like it went up so much. But the problem is that what we're looking at here are 2 to 3 word long search queries. And they're not brand specific, and they're really general. When you're looking at 23,903 impressions for the previous day, you know you're probably in a high risk keyword. So let's move forward. So basically, once you have your high-risk keywords and your low-risk keywords separated into separate campaigns, most likely want to have your high-risk keywords turn into more low-risk ones. So with that, let's do some testing in bidding, ad copy, promotional testing, and also test your landing page out. Anything to bring that keyword more specific to your target market, or your ad copy more specific to that keyword, will actually turn this into a situation where you might be able to move a keyword from a high-risk campaign to a low-risk one. As you can see here in the diagram, you pull the low-risk keywords here, and they go to low-risk campaigns. But if they're still high-risk, you might have to redo some testing and continually test. This is just a process that you have to do within PPC as such. So talk about examples here. Basically, this is what I had talked about earlier, except in writing. You want to target CPA and clicks with aggressive bidding strategies for low-risk keywords. You already have the low risk set up. It has a good CPA, and so then you're allowed to start aggressively bidding towards your goals. Let's look at the example again. Here in the low risk campaign, you can see that it's all ranked. Now, this might not necessarily work. You might need to target a specific CPA instead. However, when you're dealing with branded keywords, sometimes you can target the rank and get away with it. When you're dealing with low-risk keywords, maybe they're ultra-specific, you have 10 quality score level 10, In that case, you probably can do something a little bit more aggressive than the high-risk keywords where you might need to be very conservative. In this case as well, this campaign also doesn't have a cap on the budget. It doesn't need one because this client is happy with if they're at rank 1 on all these keywords, they don't care. They just want to get as many clicks as possible. However, doing that in the high risk can really be in trouble. So let's go back and look at what to do on the high risk. For high risk campaigns, definitely you want to allot a lower amount of money or use location in some way, something to target a smaller market than the high impression market that we're looking at. If it's high impressions, try to target location. Try to add a word here or there. If you have to be on some really vague word that's really high or vague keyword that's really high impressions, figure out a way to make it so you're not getting as many wasted clicks. Budget cap is a good idea. Additionally, check out your ad copy. Let's look at what our client did. Once we're here, we can see the 23,903 impressions that I mentioned earlier. However, we're not seeing any clicks. Well, one of the reasons is because their ad copy is really specific. They don't want this extremely general keyword to be costing them a lot of money. I mean, they're even in position 2.4. So there's a lot of impressions here, but not a lot of clicks. And that means that they're testing something out and they're trying to get their ad copy under control where they can at least siphon some people, but the right people, towards their message. Let's look at an actual problem, though, where you can see the kind of opposite occurring. Here, there's okay impressions. However, what we're looking at is kind of some higher clicks. Right here, if we're looking at the 30-day data, we see 307 clicks for this keyword. Now, we also see a cost per conversion of $0. So when I look at these three keywords right here, I can really tell that there's something going on. Not a lot of conversions, and unfortunately, too many clicks. So for something like that, you probably want to get less clicks, either change your ad copy or separate these keywords into a different location so you're not paying as much money. If for whatever reason you have to be in this industry, you have to be on this keyword, then just keep an eye on these. Cap it with a budget cap because you don't want to be paying a lot of money when you're not getting any return. Additional things you can do are test landing pages and promotions. Any sort of internal promotions you can do are really great. Let's check out Google to kind of look at some examples of what the competition is doing in certain industries. So this is the ad preview tool. We're going to be using it to search for different keywords. Right now I just have cell phone accessories. Pretty broad. However, it's probably a keyword that a lot of people that are selling cell phone accessories want to be on. But then let's see what the competition is doing. Number 1 has saved 80%. Good. I'm going to click on that. 80%, I'm excited. Additionally, the person below them has their Google checkout connected and also has really high reviews. Again, that's going to be an incentive to buy. However, if we go down lower, we can see that some are just offering free shipping. Well, that might not be that good of a deal for someone that's searching. Maybe if I click on a couple of these, I'm still going to want to shop around and we'll click on this one just to see if the pricing is competitive. But if it's not, I don't know why I would actually buy from them. Additionally, once we go down the page, we can see that there are some offers that just seem pretty awesome. $1.49 covers and cases. I'm going to click on that and I'm probably going to buy. But maybe I've already clicked on the 80% off or one of these guys with the high reviews first. Because price point is so important to various industries, and especially on e-commerce, and any person that's searching for PPC and using PPC to get to various vendors, price point is most likely going to be their first choice. In that case, there's not a whole lot you can do except trying to get to that lower price point by offering these great incentives that we see, like 80% or $1.49. Other things you can do is really optimize your landing page to the keyword. Unfortunately, cell phone accessories is so vague that even if you mention cell phone accessories hundreds of times in your landing page, it wouldn't necessarily add up to much of anything. Most likely all of these competitors, since there's such a large number of competitors, that they are most likely doing the same thing already. And in that case, all you can do is cut your losses. Maybe what you would want to do is be on page 2. Or maybe what you would want to do is try to siphon out some of that target market. Either change the location, or if you really need to be nationwide, put in something that's really targeting only specific people. Something that's going to make people less likely to click. But for the people that do click, that you're going to be rewarded wisely. Let's go back to the presentation. Basically what I've gone over is kind of the difference between high risk and low risk. But let's really talk about the reward. Safeguarding CPA is one of the most important things you can do in your PPC accounts. If you safeguard your CPA with low-risk keywords and with the method that we described with bringing high-risk keywords to low-risk, you'll really be on top of the competition. You'll be present in your search market and where your potential customers are in, but at the same time safeguard CPA since you've capped your budget and are testing different opportunities, making sure that you're not paying so much money and not having too many wasted clicks. Additionally, your quality score is going to be enhanced. Because you have these lower risk keywords and you're constantly moving these keywords from high risk to low risk by optimizing your landing page, your ad copy, etc., and testing thoroughly, also testing promotional opportunities, you're going to be rewarded for this. The more clicks you get, the better, the more likely your ad copy is actually targeting the right people for that keyword, and your landing page for that matter, the better and more rewarded you're going to be by Google. Additionally, you have a method now to grow your conversions the safe way. It's really easy to jump into PPC campaigns and get involved in just throwing a lot of money away. The vague keywords offer a lot of incentive. They're exciting. If you see 23,000 impressions a day, you think, well, what if I only get 1/10 of that to come onto my site? You know, that's a great amount of people. Additionally, what if they all buy? It's exciting. However, if you just jump into those markets without having any sort of plan, and without having a plan to make that keyword actually specific to what your website does, and also what you're providing the customer, then you might be caught like a fish out of water. However, this method here, you can grow your conversions by transforming the high-risk keywords to higher spending, low-risk keywords. And gradually your trend will be much, much higher. So, a little bit about us. For more info, you can feel free to call 866-517-1711, and then you can see the email right there. You can email me, support@varazo.com. Again, we're Varazo, a interactive marketing agency located in Santa Clara, California. And my name is Chris. I can help you out anytime. Thanks so much.